Tonight I'm showing you how to paint Jabba the Hutt. Let's get started. Start out with a black canvas. You can just paint your canvas black, or you can buy a black canvas. I'm excited. The first thing I'm gonna do is find the overall shape. I'm starting out with the top of his head, and instead of outlining it, I'm gonna fill it in from the inside out, and I'm gonna layer. I actually watched Return of the Jedi today so I could freshen up. Don't be afraid to use texture. So you can see I'm painting around the eyes. He has these frog-like eyelids. I'm just gonna get the overall shape, and then I'll go from there. When was the last time you watched Star Wars? The Princess Leia prisoner scene is my favorite scene, as you can't tell, or you may be able to tell. And I did my hair as best as I could to match. What do you think? Okay. So his eyes are kind of red, and I will say this is going to be my personal interpretation. I'm using a combination of screenshots from the movie as well as my own AI generated image. Now remember, his nostrils are warped and a little bit disfigured. I keep rags everywhere so I can just wipe my paintbrush. Highly recommend that method. And his mouth is turned downward, as you can see. Downward turning mouth. I'm using cat-free acrylic paint, which is heavy body acrylic paint. Oh, the heater turned on. 1 second. I'll be right back. Hang tight. Plotting in where the mouth is gonna go, imagine a downward boomerang shape, and then we're gonna paint around the boomerang. And although Jabba the Hutt is mostly green, he also has some pink in him. So I'm starting out with the pink first, and when I mixed my colors, I made sure that all of the colors were muddy and kind of grotesque to reflect the way he looks. So I'm gonna go ahead and just add some red in the eye area, and I'll create more detail here in a minute. My recommendation is to do your best to plot out the general shapes before you get too carried away with details. So here's the chin, and I'm using the black of the canvas to really act as a shadow. It's already come together. So it's so funny. I can never tell what paintings are going to take forever and what paintings are just going to flow out effortlessly. All right, so I'm taking the black, merging it in to what I have. Very good. And then there's going to be a ripple here, a jelly roll basically. So I'm going to paint that in. Basically, he's got the world's biggest double chin, and I'm so here for it. Can't believe how cute I look. Can you? I'm having fun. So yes, drawing the double chin as best as possible. And then because there's a fade, I'm going to take my darker shade right underneath and we're going to create a gradient. And I'm using a lot of paint so that it will come off of the canvas. This type of painting doesn't need to be neat. It can just be as everywhere and blobby and sloppy as your little Star Wars heart desires. I think one of my favorite scenes, other than when Princess Leia kills Jabba the Hutt, is when they are all dancing. You know, the scene where they're playing that retro music, and I just love the whole concept of retrofuturism. And Star Wars really embodies that. Just their perception of what the future would look like is so interesting to me, wouldn't you say? This looks so good on me. I can't get over it. And now there's another little ripple. I guess little isn't the right word. Another big ripple of fat underneath. So he has like a triple chin, not just a double chin. He's got a triple chin. And I'm using the pink for the light spots and green for the shading spots. So in here I'm going to actually add a little bit of green. And I have different shades of green. This is one of my tricks when you're using acrylic paint. Spray it with water. We don't want the paint to dry. So there's the other ripple in the double chin, and I'm just going to blend that into the black as much as possible and integrate it into some green that is also kind of going into the black. I'm going to actually use a smaller brush to get some details. I'm going to make sure that my camera is nice and crisp. Oh, my Lord Jesus. I'm the only one monitoring, so I have to make sure everything's good. Okay. So I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to work on some of the wrinkles around the eye just by intensifying some of my line work. Make sure to maintain the light structure that you have though. And what that looks like is, it's going to be different for everybody, but you're basically going to take your black, shade in the eyes. I'm adding my black slit in the eye. Just shade it in and integrate your pink highlights into the shadows. Don't be afraid to add contrast, line work. This is one of my more expressive paintings because Jabba the Hutt has a lot of just texture overall in his face and body, so we can really play with that. See, just going in, adding more texture, painting in between places. He's kind of wordy and gross, so I'm doing my best to capture that. What's your favorite Return of the Jedi scene? Or just Star Wars scene in general? I would love to know. Put it in the comments. Are you following along? Good. Now I will say my reference that I'm using a few different references, but I turned it black and white so I can really solely focus on the light structure. And then if you get the light structure down, you can use whatever colors you want. So because the AI image that I used is too green, I'm just looking at the black and white structure or the black and white image so that I can fill in the colors that are more accurate to Jabba the Hutt. See how I'm integrating the black into the eye lid, and this is going to create that shaded chiaroscuro vibe. And if you're not sure what chiaroscuro means, it's basically, in the old times, they used to paint on black canvases similar to what I'm doing, so that they're painting in the light, and it creates a really nice dark look. Getting under the eye, taking a little bit of green and creating a bridge right there. I'm just gonna let the heat go for a second because it is cold actually and I'm cold, so I'm just gonna let it go just for a little bit before I turn it off. I'm sure you can't imagine why I would be cold, right? Kidding. Taking my black and creating that slit. Already, Jabba the Hutt looks so good. I'm gonna make his lower lip even more defined. I'm gonna take the black and just push it into the opening of his mouth. Even though it's already black, it will intensify it. And then just kind of bumping I'm scumbling, which is basically where you allow the dark to come through the light. So you just gently graze your light color over the dark, and that is scumbling. It's one of my favorite techniques to use. Alright, I'll go turn down the heat. Oh, I'm cold. I have goosebumps. I wish you could warm me up. So I wish I could bring my little doggy here. He would go crazy, but he looks like an Ewok or Chewbacca. He's a Yorkie Terrier mix, and evidently the director or the writer, I can't remember his name, of Star Wars loved his Yorkies and used them as inspiration. You may need to fact check me on that, but I'm telling you, my Yorkie Terrier mix, whatever he is, looks just like Chewbacca or the Ewoks or both. So maybe in the future I will include him in a video. Also, R2D2 and CP3O remind me of the day and age we're coming into now with humanoid robots. Humanoid robots. They're nice, so it gives me hope. Alright. Using a smaller brush is definitely helpful. Now I'm going to take my burgundy and just move it in to the green. And I'm basically going to shade with my burgundy. I'm using muddy colors. So usually when you are using a lot of green, make sure you also integrate, is that the word? Integrate red into your colors, because red and green are complementary colors and vice versa. So for instance, when I mixed my pink, I added a little green. When I mixed my green, I added a little yellow, red, because they're opposite sides of the color wheel. They complement each other and they also cancel each other out. So if you want your green to look less green, you add a little red. If you want your red to look less red, you add a little green. I hope that's not too confusing, but that's the way it works. Okay, adding some wrinkles above his eyes. I'm just letting you know I literally never wear my hair back, so I hope you enjoy this special occasion. But yeah, when I first watched Star Wars as a kid with my brothers, I was blown away with the Princess Leia prisoner outfit, and I wanted it immediately. This is my first time wearing it or even trying it on. It's the original one from the movie set. I paid like $1 million for it. Just kidding. But it does look pretty original, doesn't it? I'm just gonna tone that down a little bit. Taking my black, moving it through the mouth again, also creating more shadows and wrinkles. It doesn't have to be exact. It's just about getting the overall feeling and gist. So I'm not throwing shade, but there's somebody that reminds me of Jabba the Hutt, and his name rhymes with Ronald Rump. Just saying. What do you think? Do you agree? Only imagine if Jabba the Hutt was like more orange. Yeah. I'm just saying visually speaking. Not talking about character. But that too. Maybe. What? It's looking good. Okay. His nostrils are very lopsided, so I'm making sure to indicate that in the drawing or the painting. And again, I recommend using really any materials that you have on hand will work, but if you want this thick 5-use Gaffrey art materials. It's not a sponsored post. This is just me being honest with you and letting you know what I use. Oops, that's a little out of line. I'm just taking my green and I'm gonna create some wrinkles around the face. After you add the highlights of the wrinkles, you gotta do the lowlights too. You gotta go back and forth between both. It's a dance. Sometimes you might need to let it dry before you are able to really get those details in there the way you want. Sometimes creating a dark plane can allow you to go in with your highlights and just scumble your highlight on top. Just like that. It's looking good. Let's add some little bumps on the side of his face that are kind of coming out of the darkness. We don't want it to feel enclosed. We're staying away from outlines as much as possible. Taking a little bit of this turquoise and some of my darker shades and just kind of moving it through the darkness. Let's intensify this ripple, this third chin. Very good. Add some bumps and crevices. Wow. It's really starting to look like Jabba the Hutt. Sometimes it's about what you leave out, not about what you add. So don't be afraid to just kind of let the viewer imply some things. Adding my burgundy in a few places, taking my pink, highlighting the bridge of the eye. Good. That looks gross. He reminds me of a big booger. But it's fun to draw something gross rather than something pretty all the time. You know, I mean, I'm a sucker for prettiness, so it's nice to switch it up, do something gross. Gonna intensify the shadow in here more. Take a little bit of green, add it in there so it's not just one color. And then a few little gross bumps. That looks pretty good. Taking my burgundy and just adding a few more wrinkles, a few bumps. That looks nice as it can look. And adding a few highlights once again on the mouth. I feel like it needs to be like integrated into that shadow a little more. detail to this blobby fat roll. Just kind of add a little bit more dimension to it. That looks good. Maybe make it a little bit softer and rounder in there. That's good. I mean, honestly, I kind of like it like this. Here. Nope, I don't like that. Just gonna mix this green into the black so it feels like it's fading into the black. And then that way it's like, where does it start? Where does it stop? I don't know. It's up to the viewer to decide. And taking a little bit of turquoise. Just gonna put a few little shades of turquoise over here so it's like there's some light reflecting off of some of his fat rolls, but we're not really sure what's going on. We can do it in a few other places too. Maybe over here is a bit too much, so I'll just kind of push that back in. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm cold. Okay. Let me take a picture of it. A little trick if you want to really see how your painting looks, take a picture of it. You'll be glad you did. I like it. I'm just going to work on his eyes just a little bit. It might ruin it, but it might not. Oh yeah, I like it. Yeah. It doesn't have to be too much. Just a little bit. I mean, his eyes are so weird. Just gonna increase the sharpness and bring this eyelid down just a little bit. After you add the highlights, then you gotta add those low lights as well, otherwise it looks weird, so. That kind of flattened it a little bit. I'm gonna take this color and just move it through. That's a nice medium tone. Let me look at my reference again. Take the black and just push it back in. There's kind of a highlight from where I added the paint. There we go. Really just kind of finessing with it until I feel like it looks right. Alright, that looks pretty good. Again, there's kind of a highlight on it. This, and just I'm gonna add a shadow in here it needs it. The shadow there, and a shadow in here as well. Even though it's a big boogery blob, we have to keep the structure intact, even more so because it's a big blob. Otherwise, it's just not going to look like anything. That's pretty good. There. All right, let me take a picture. Okay, I feel like the mouth just needs a little bit of work. I see. Okay. I'm gonna create a little bit of a fold underneath where I'm making it like where it feels like it's folding in and not just cutting straight off. Taking my turquoise and my green and just shading underneath the pink. And then taking my black and moving the black into the green. Just kind of making it feel a little bit more three-dimensional. Under here is a good place to add a little turquoise as well. Just so it feels like there's some dimension. There we go. All right. I love it. It's so much more free and textured than what I normally do. I feel like this needs to be just a little bit softer, and so I'm just gonna add some turquoise in here so it feels a little bit softer. And I'm gonna add some green so it feels more connected. More like a fat roll rather than another mouth. So I think that did the trick. I know it's a small adjustment, but I wanted the mouth to be the darkest opening spot. Just going in and tweaking it in a few places just so I feel 100% confident in the painting. I mean, that looks way better. That looks softer. And that's what I wanted. I wanted it to feel softer. Because, you know, they're jelly rolls. So the jelly rolls need to be jelly-y. And then let me just take a minute and refine the eyes. The eyes are the window to the soul, so I just want them to be really crisp. Take a little bit of the turquoise, reflect it off this eye. It's worth it to go the extra mile in your painting. You'll learn something through it at the very least. Alright, let's look at this screenshot. So his eyes are super red. So I'm just gonna add. So I screenshotted the movie today whenever I was rewatching it. I'm just gonna add a little bit of red in there just so we know that his eyes are red. And the slit goes from top to bottom. It's important to note. And I'm gonna highlight the red with a little bit of pink. And then that gives a little bit of a foggy effect. Alright, that looks good. Way better. Way more Jabba the Hutt-y. Alright, I'm done. Here's from this camera. Every camera looks different. This one's a little bit less exposed. I like this camera a lot. It's very soft. Yeah. Jabba the Hutt. I'm into it. Alright. I'm freezing. Well, this was really fun. Thank you so much for watching. And let me know what you think in the comments. I know some people will be like, that's a really bad painting, and I'm prepared for that, but I'm actually really happy with it. I have a lot of really refined artworks, and I love that this one's more expressive, and through the paint I'm expressing the texture that Jabba the Hutt embodies. So may the force be with you always, and until next time. Oh, yes. One last fit check.